Good evening to all of you proud UNC supporters, and good evening to all of you concerned citizens. Thank you for allowing us into your homes. Ladies and gentlemen, my brothers and sisters, last Friday was Labor Day, and I would like to first start off this evening by paying tribute to the labor movement. They did not allow COVID-19 protocols to hamper their traditional observances. This, in my view, was very important for the country. You see, the toughest times faced by the labor movement and the working class of our beloved country has been under this PNM government. We may have all lost count, but estimated figures suggest that there are more than 100,000 unemployed persons in our country. Do you remember that in 2016, more than 600 workers were sent home from ArcelorMittal? In response to that situation, the Minister of Labor, Mrs. Jennifer Baptiste-Primus, who I must say is an expert in social distancing and practicing quarantine measures, she said then that within 3 weeks, she will be hosting a consultation, inviting all stakeholders to come and sit down and look at the Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act, the Retrenchment and Severance Benefits Act, the Companies Act, and that she would also hold consultation with the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago. She told the nation that these pieces of legislation would be amended to protect workers. Almost 5 years later, nothing has happened. We have had the closure of major entities like Centrin, Petrotrin, and methanol and ammonia plants, resulting in thousands of jobs being lost, and nothing has happened. Today's newspapers report that 6 petrochemical plants have now been shut down in the last 6 months. 6 plants in 6 months. Our largest ammonia producer, Nutrien, has now closed one of its plants. We are yet to receive the information as to exactly how many workers stand to suffer. But returning to the Minister of Labor, when the trade unions criticized her and the government, the PNM government, on Labor Day for their failure to protect the working class, she said they were still holding consultations. Can you imagine that for the past 5 years, the Minister of Labor is still only holding consultations and not one piece of legislation has been brought to the Parliament in the interest of the working class? This, to me, sounds like a lot of squandermania on tea parties, breakfasts, seminars, and nobody is doing any work. Within 4 days of the first confirmed COVID-19 case, the Minister of Labor devoted an entire Sunday afternoon press conference explaining the availability of pandemic leave. Thereafter, nothing was done by the Minister of Labor and or the Minister of Finance to implement pandemic leave. Some 2 months later, the Prime Minister then announced that the government would no longer assist with this measure. What should we really make of this? It is either the government saw the necessity for pandemic leave at the beginning of the COVID lockdown, in which case they ought to have followed through with it, or they were merely politicking, in which case they broke their word to the citizenry. We sometimes refer to a drastic comparison by saying you're dealing with chalk and cheese. Well, in contrast to the PNM government's failed economic and labor policies, the Kamla Persad Bissessar-led United National Congress settled over 143, not 43, 143 wage negotiations and collective agreements. In doing so, it paid out over $3 billion to workers during the period 2010 to 2015. As we treat with the PNM's insult to the working class, I want to talk a little bit about Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi. Sometimes, well, I don't know how to really speak of this character and what to make of him. But what I could tell you is the curtailed Senator Sean Sobers putting on he in San Fernando West. They say he walking around with a merino black vest and a pajama type looking pants hassling people on the road looking for votes. So Senator Sean Sobers, go brave. After being criticized by the trade union movement for not taking steps to improve the industrial court, Faris, after all his performance craters for 5 years, said that he just wanted to get over the hump of election, and then he would focus on the industrial court. So he is hopelessly and shamelessly waiting for another bite at the cherry. This is an insult to the working class people. The industrial court dispenses social justice. Whenever workers or employees are wronged or want redress on matters concerning their jobs, or whenever they are retrenched, their only recourse is to seek relief before the industrial court. It is a critical institution. But this PNM government is not interested in the working class, so that they have neglected that court. Faris has essentially admitted that. Even the judges of the court are treated with disrespect. Why have you been appointing judges on 3-year contracts when the law provides and allows for 5 years? Why not give judges longer periods of employment so that they can hear and complete more matters and allow more workers to have their disputes ventilated? Why are you treating judges in this mediocre manner? It boils down again and again to disrespecting the working class and disrespecting the population. The court has existing infrastructure. Why did you choose to let it run down? The court has 4 courtrooms. It needs more. Well, I want to ask Faris tonight if he knows any landlord who have property to lease or rent. Why not lend us one Woodbrook Place? After all, is taxpayers paying $23 million for that? So can you imagine this brass-faced Faris? He coming now to tell you, vote him in again, and then he will do what he was supposed to do all along. What really has Faris been doing for the last 5 years? Faris and the PNM government have been busy peddling miscellaneous pieces of legislation to take away people's rights. Everything is a miscellaneous provisions bill. Under the Freedom of Information Act, ordinary citizens can access documents which will assist them in their day-to-day lives. They can access it within 1 month time. Faris tried to take away that. What is worse is that the PNM government has a continuing obsession on spying on your business. Centuries-old laws protecting your privacy, what we call common law rights, AG Faris wants to legislate to take them away. One example is the recent Interception of Communications Amendment Bill 2020, which provides for wiretapping citizens and accessing citizens' data stored at telecommunication providers. This kind of legislation encroaches on your fundamental constitutional rights, such as your right to privacy. Our MPs, our UNC MPs and senators have comprehensively debated these matters on your behalf in the parliament, so I don't want to go there tonight. The point I want you to understand tonight is that this piece of legislation required a majority support in the Houses of Parliament. When AG Faris did not get the required majority of the parliamentary houses to support him, he then claimed that he had legal opinions to say that the bill could be passed with a simple majority and proceeded to pass the bill on that basis. We are yet to see those legal opinions. Well, Faris, this sounding like, and I hope Senator Saddam Hussein, where he is on this virtual conference, will hear this. This sounds like the typical example, dog bite up your homework excuse. How could an attorney general, the guardian of the rights of citizens, come to the parliament and pass laws which impact on fundamental human rights with a simple majority? Any law student who has spent an ordinary amount of time achieving their legal qualifications will tell you that this cannot be done. So, Faris is passing bad law, but more importantly, he and the government are showing clear signs of breaching the rule of law and a non-commitment to citizens' constitutional, fundamental, and human rights. Just prior to coming to this virtual hearing, I was reading a letter from the Assembly of Southern Lawyers where they wrote to Faris talking and commenting on the miscellaneous provisions, Registrar General, Registration of Deeds, Conveyancing of Law and Property Act, etc., etc. One long, unholy title. Faris trying to pass this in the parliament. Do you know what is the ground of complaint in that? That he is upsetting settled principles of jurisprudence and practice in conveyancing, and he is doing this without consultation. So you have one, the Minister of Labour, who only holding consultations and not bringing any law, and you have Faris Al-Rawi, who only want to bring bad law but not holding any consultations. I will seek to unveil more during the ongoing campaigning. In conclusion, I say particularly to the constituents of Chaguanas West that I, following in the footsteps of our political leader, will listen to all of you, hear your concerns, and consult with you as we move forward. Together we will aspire, together we will achieve. Now is the time to stand up and speak out. Now is the time to say no to the PNM. Now is the time to embrace the UNC tighter than ever before. Now is the time to answer the call of our political leader, Kamla Persad Bissessar. Now is the time to save Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you.